Well, I wasn't planning on a broadcast on a Thursday afternoon. Hope you folks are staying warm and dry. There's a storm hitting the California coast right now, but some news dropped today, and I thought I'd host this is going to be a short and sweet episode because there isn't a lot to break down, but the news is significant enough to host a show. And that news pertains to Gary Payton II, who we learned today that is going to be missing some time because of an injury he suffered in that Miami game, an injury that no one noticed at the time, but it's severe enough where it might cost him the rest of the season, might cost him the postseason. And in hindsight, it may be a blessing in disguise. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Let's get into it. Happy Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. That's always some phenomenal news. And this is the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win.
I do my best to do what everybody wants, and that's to win a championship.
Woo! Let's go. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up.
Day away. Welcome to the Golden Days. I'm your host for the afternoon, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. Over on Twitter, my handle is Surf Journalist. The program is on both those platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we get into today's episode covering the Golden State Warriors, got to give some love to our incredible sponsors. First and foremost, visit Humboldt. And more specifically, visit Humboldt.com. Now, what happens if you go check out that website? You're going to see incredible imagery. You're going to see places to go and visit, things to do. But I think most importantly, when we're talking about Humboldt, my former home, I used to be a student at Humboldt State University. They now call it Cal Poly Humboldt. Their mascot are the Lumberjacks, appropriately named. And it's an outdoor paradise. It's all about enjoying Mother Nature and everything it has to offer, whether it's hiking trails, whether it's incredible beaches, whether it's national and state parks with giant old growth redwoods and sequoias. You're in the land of the giants, literally. Amazing breweries if you love beer, great wineries if you love wine. Restaurants with fantastic dining. You name it, it's got it. Go check out Humboldt, and more specifically, go visit the website, visit Humboldt.com for more information, or just DM me. Again, I can be a resource for you. If you live in Northern California and you're looking for something fun to do, go check out visit Humboldt.com to find places to stay for a terrific itinerary. Again, just hours away from the San Francisco Bay Area and or Sacramento. Beautiful drive, beautiful place. I cannot recommend it enough. Today's episode also brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness, aka March Madness. Yeah, we're still in it, folks. And so are the Golden State Warriors. You don't have to just bet on March Madness. You could also bet on Warriors action, NBA action. I think baseball had opening day. You could bet on baseball. I know some sports gamblers love betting on pitchers and analyzing those matchups with the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, MMA. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source, from every Cinderella story to every hat trick. BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. So the news that dropped today in regards to the Golden State Warriors. Oh, and Bruce Morrow, we got some people in the chat now saying that Florida is going to win it all this year. That, I believe, was Canyon Barry's alma mater, if I'm not mistaken. Adrian Gutierrez talking about the subject at hand in the chat, writing, Gary Payton is going to be a huge loss for the Warriors. And this is where I may disagree with you. It's not a hard prediction. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to happen. I ain't Notre Dame here, but I'm going to explain to you why it might be a blessing in disguise. Dylan Verano recommending, I know I've thought about it as well, the Draymond prediction for the World Championship. The only adding that to the show intro, the only reason why I haven't done it is because editing that intro is such a pain in the ass. And I know if I include that Draymond thing, I'm going to have to take it out soon. Although I still might do it anyways. It's a great call, Dylan. I've been thinking about it for a while. Anyways, going back to the subject at hand, the Golden State Warriors and the news that dropped today, I'll share with you a tweet sent out by Warriors PR. Side note, if any of you folks out there are interested in understanding where media members get their information from, it is PR. It is public relations practitioners who work for these teams. That's where we get a lot of our information. And luckily for you, it's public. That information used to be esoteric. Like you'd have to be a member of the media getting emails from the Warriors with this type of information. And we had exclusive access to it. Not anymore. You could literally go to Twitter where @WarriorsPR shares the same information now that the media used to get. It is no longer esoteric. It's public. And Warriors PR distributed this information today, which for a lot of folks, I imagine, was not considered to be good news. And I'll read it verbatim. This is courtesy of Warriors PR. Quote, Warriors guard Gary Payton II has suffered a partial tear of a ligament in his left thumb. The injury occurred during Tuesday's game against the Heat in Miami. Payton II will not play in tomorrow's game against the Pelicans in New Orleans and will be reevaluated in 1 week. GP2 is out, folks. And a partial tear of a ligament. Now, I know they bring up that he's going to be reevaluated in a week, but one of the best parts of GP2's game lately was his shooting, and more specifically, a three-point shot that has been rediscovered. And GP2 is a southpaw. GP2 is also not the same defensive player he was in 2022. In case you folks forgot, on that dirty-ass play by Dylan Brooks of the Memphis Grizzlies in the 2022 conference semifinals knocked GP2 out of what a lot of people initially thought was the postseason. He came back for the NBA Finals, and they needed him in that Celtics series. But the difference between GP2 in 2022 and the GP2 of now is that the GP2 of 2022 was arguably the best defensive player in the entire NBA. I was certainly claiming that. I was certainly advocating for GP2 ad nauseum in 2022 because that's how deep the Warriors were, that GP2 on that team was basically your 15th man or 14th. I can't remember how deep the roster was that year. But this year's version of GP2, 3 years later, not quite the same defensively, but he did improve offensively. And this is why this injury to me is very different from 2022, because in 2022, broken wrist, broken hand, whatever the issue was with a hand, he could still play defense out there. He could still be a pest. He could still be serviceable. If the injury is to a shooting hand and the three-point shot that in the month of March, for example, was falling at an absurd 46.4% from three, that's what GP2 was shooting in March from the three-point line. 46.4%. GP2 in the month of February shot the three-point ball at a 40% clip. Anything 40 or above is outstanding for three-point shooting. And GP2's been hitting that clip for close to 2 months. In the month of January, it was just below 40 at 38.5%. Still damn good. I mean, at that point, we're not bragging about it, but it's serviceable. It's not hurting the team. And GP2 rediscovered a shot that he lost early in the season. And what I mean by that is you look at his numbers starting with December and November. In December, GP2 was shooting just 13.3% from deep. I'm not exaggerating saying that. 13.3% from deep. GP2 in the month of November was 16.7% from three. Again, not an exaggeration. 16.7%. So he turned things around big time in terms of his three-point shooting. And what concerns me about GP2 now is that the value he was bringing, still one of the elite defenders in the game, but no longer the best, no longer a guy who abnormally could lock down offensive players in 2022. And I don't know if injuries have caught up to him. I don't know if age has caught up to him. Gary Payton II currently, in terms of age, is 32 years old. He turns 33 in December. He was still in his 20s 3 years ago. So, and again, he's suffered some severe injuries since then. This is the latest, the torn ligament in his shooting hand. And this is also why I think it's a blessing in disguise. And we're going to hear from Steve Kerr now. See, AC in the chat knows what I'm talking about. And I'll highlight that in just a minute. So the Warriors had a shoot around today. This was in New Orleans, I believe. Actually, did not check the location, but I'm pretty sure this was New Orleans. And Anthony Slater caught up with Steve Kerr, who was taking questions from, I don't know if it was just Slater or all the media, but Slater's the only one who posted this clip. And Steve Kerr, his answer to this will explain everything in terms of why I think this could actually help the Warriors in the big picture. Because besides what could happen as a result of GP2 not playing, you still have him on the bench, right? He's such an invaluable chemistry guy that you're not losing his presence. That is good news. But who might replace him may also be good news. And Steve Kerr made that very evident in this attribution. Again, this is courtesy of Anthony Slater of The Athletic. And here is Steve Kerr today in New Orleans talking about the GP2 injury and what may result from that. Here is Steve Kerr.
Well, it opens up an opportunity for JK to be that defensive stopper, the guy who we've relied on Gary to be. JK's the obvious guy. Put him on the best offensive player. Pick up full, like harass people like Gary does. I'm going to ask JK to do that, and it definitely opens up more minutes for him if he's effective with that. And then again, it's mix and match game to game, depending on who's playing well and how we're playing.
Regarding JK, he certainly had some reps early, especially early in his return, picking up the ball pressure. What kind of potential do you think he has as a point of attack defense?
He's got a lot of potential in that regard, and I think it's right there for him to. Like I said, we'll give him some tough assignments here coming up. But it's always in the context of the team and team defense, 5-man unit, and that applies to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're an on-ball defender or off-ball defender. You got to be in sync with everyone else. I thought we lacked that the other night. We had some mistakes on our own switching, some coverage mistakes. So a lot of stuff to tighten up.
Why do you think some of the lineups with him and Jimmy together JK and Jimmy together haven't worked?
Jimmy is, I've talked about this, he's one of the best ISO players in the league. And so if you're going to run ISO offense, you need spacing, and you need proper cutting, proper movement. Jimmy just got here obviously a month ago or so we're still adapting to our spacing within those ISOs. It requires us to put the right combinations out there and to teach the guys kind of where to be and then how to make the next play. And so JK's still adapting to that a little bit.
So, again, that attribution was music to my ears for quite a few reasons. First and foremost, and great question by Slater to bring up the Jimmy Butler-Kuminga duo. I'm actually looking up the net rating stats right now for how those two are playing together. I hope to get to that before the end of the show today. But part of the reason why that clip was music to my ears was the acknowledgement of the fact that the defense has issues. And we've talked about this on the show for a few days now. They're overhelping on defense. The switching has gotten out of control. You can also switch too much. And you can also help too early and over aggressively. And that exposes holes in your defense. And that's exactly what the Warriors have been doing lately defensively, that they need to tighten up. And again, that part of it, music to my ears, because I've been wondering and saying on this show now, are they aware of that? Is Stackhouse and Kerr aware of it? It sucks that I actually had to fear that, but hearing that puts puts my mind at ease. It puts a lot of my anxiety about this defense lately at rest. They're aware of it. That's good news. Also good news is hearing Kerr publicly say that JKA is a fantastic defensive player, something I've been saying for years now on this program. And you have the JK haters routinely saying, oh, his defense. No, dude, his defense it's not elite yet, but the talent is there for him to become an elite defender. And there's a reason why he's already routinely assigned other teams' best players. Kerr already is aware of his athleticism to be an elite defender. And he just said it publicly. That is awesome. JK can defend. And GP2 in 2022, a huge reason why I called him the best defensive player of that season is because I'm watching all of these games every minute, just like any diehard individual out there is similarly doing. All right. So any of you out there who, in your arguments are uttering these lines, you got to watch the games. Bro, I'm watching just as much as you are. All right. And what I saw in 2022 versus 2025 from Gary Payton II is a player who in 2022 could literally, I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not saying this for sensationalist reasons. This was as close to a fact as you can get for a basketball take. GP2 was a lockdown defender in 2022. If you can find any plays from that season where he actually was exposed, where players blew by him, where players scored on him, like without some luck being involved, good luck finding that. Sorry for the redundancy. In 2025, my memory banks are just going click, click, click in terms of play after play after play, remembering GP2 giving up easy buckets, whether it's with players blowing by him, whether it's players shooting over him. That did not happen in 2022. That is happening in 2025. The 2025 GP2 looks like a great defensive player, someone who's certainly not a liability in that department, but is not the lockdown guy that I remember in 2022 that I was fighting for in terms of minutes. So with GP2, his three-point shots started falling. He's obviously, when it comes to chemistry, one of the most likable guys on this team. But the left hand, the shooting hand, that being the injury, is concerning because now you've affected probably one of the best aspects, one of the best variables that GP2 was still bringing, and that was clutch shooting to make up for whatever diminishment had followed with his defense. And again, that could be injuries, it could be athleticism. Dude's 32 now, and from 2022 to now, he's dealt with adductor injuries, groin injuries, leg injuries. The hand thankfully won't affect him athletically, but it is going to affect his shot. And that shot was falling. And for his shooting hand to be affected, that's why I don't know if we're going to see him again this season. Could be mistaken on that. That's just a guess, but it would surprise me if GP2 made an immediate recovery. It also wouldn't surprise me, I guess, to see him back because Steve Kerr loves him so much. And Steve Kerr has his crutches. And that's sadly what GP2 also became for Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has his crutches. And AC, this is why I mentioned you earlier, and I highlight your chat now, writing Steve Kerr's crutch taken away. GP2 this season has become a crutch for Steve Kerr. There was no good reason for Gary Payton II to get the minutes that he got in Miami, to be not just starting the game. It's like, all right, so as a starter, you pretty much failed miserably. But to bring him back out there in the second half, to be giving him fourth quarter minutes in that game, that was absurd. Steve Kerr forgot in that Tuesday game he had other players on that bench he should have and could have gone to. Not to mention GP2, one of his best performances have come this season routinely with Stephen Curry alongside him. He's become a bit of a security blanket for Stephen Curry. So when Stephen Curry's injured, I don't know if GP2 is bringing the same value to the table on a night-by-night basis. So GP2 is now out. Steve Kerr's crutch is now gone. We've routinely heard GP2 being called the biggest little man on the court. He's a little big. Well, the Warriors need actual bigs. The Warriors need actual size. And the Warriors just lost a player who's 6'2". So it's going to help in that regard. It's going to help if Jonathan Kuminga is the benefactor of GP2's injury, it's going to help. JK getting more minutes is a good thing. Contrary to what I know a lot of you think otherwise, I know a lot of you disagree. This is 99% subjective take. I think this is a benefit for the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga needs minutes. He doesn't hurt the team when he gets minutes. And it's a relief that Steve Kerr publicly acknowledged that GP2 was taking minutes from Kuminga as well. Another massive mistake on Steve Kerr's part. But that crutch is now gone. And in its place, we have more minutes for Kuminga. Kevin Knox is on this team. You might see minutes from him. We usually see Pat Spencer minutes when Podziemski's down. So I don't know if this is going to result in more Pat Spencer minutes, but there aren't a lot of small ball options on this bench to choose from besides Pat Spencer with GP2 down. So it's a good thing. It's a blessing in disguise that this happened. Curry, Butler, Green, Pods, IQ, Kings writing, stop hating GP2. Look, stop being overly sensitive with criticism of GP2, okay? Like, is there anything I said you disagree with? Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. And I don't mean to offend. That's never the goal, but this is not a Homer show. This is a keep it real, call it as it is show. When a player is thriving, I will acknowledge that. When a player is regressing, we'll also acknowledge that. The truth hurts sometimes. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but the truth is what is the focus here. And GP2, if there's any analysis there you disagreed with, please follow up and enlighten me on what that was. But come on. I mean, I love GP2, but we got to be real here. He played significant minutes in that disaster of a Miami Heat game, and I'm not the sugarcoating type. I'm sorry. That's just not who I am. And again, what hypocrisy? Unless you're talking to someone else here as a follow-up. Why are you calling me a Trumper based off criticizing GP2? Apply some logic, please. Please, I beg of you. Here, I'll even put the link if you want to come on here and explain to me why you're calling me a Trumper, why you're calling me a hypocrite. I don't appreciate that at all. I don't agree with that at all. I will respond and say you're being incredibly soft if you think what I just said about GP2 was offensive. That's insane to me. Here, I'll just in case you want to come on the show and follow up on that, please do. Otherwise, that's some bullshit commentary there. I'm sorry, but that is. Don't call me a hypocrite. Hypocrisy is something I strive to avoid at all costs. So if you're going to call me that, follow up and provide specifics, please. Now, and I want to quickly point out the rating. I now have the two-man lineups for the Golden State Warriors this season in terms of net rating totals. And I'm trying to dig and find the Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga duo to see what their net rating is. And I literally have to go through this line by line. That's the only downside to doing this research. I will find it. I am on a quest, my friends. All right. So, well, I did find... no, I did not find it. Hold on. We'll get there. We're getting there. I'm trying to find what Kuminga and Jimmy Butler as a duo for net rating. And this is more just a curiosity thing. I don't think the sample size is big enough for this to be an accurate reflection of how the two really play and their impact on the team when they're on the court together. Here it is. So Jimmy Butler III and Jonathan Kuminga have played 65 minutes together on the floor, and they're a minus 16. That's not awful. If you want some perspective, the worst net rating for a duo was Dennis Schroeder and Andrew Wiggins with a minus 111, and that's from a 428-minute sample size. Buddy Hield and Trace Jackson Davis are a minus 106. That's from a 367-minute sample size. In terms of players currently on the team, GP2 and Trace Jackson Davis are a minus 55 in 113 minutes played together. So minus 16 from 65 minutes played together. That's not so bad. It's basically a wash. Technically, yeah, minus 16. Dice Boy in the chat saying that 7th seed doesn't feel good. Yeah, agreed. Last night, the LA Clippers beat the New York Knicks, who can't seem... Have the Knicks beaten a single decent team this year? Well, Dub Nation was relying on the Knicks to beat the Clippers. That did not happen. So right now, the Clippers and the Warriors are tied in the standings. The Clippers own the tiebreak. So the Clippers have moved up to 6. Now, the good news is, again, you look at the strength of schedule. And we'll look at and let's look at the Clippers real fast, because I'm curious to see what remaining games they have, because the Clippers are a little scary. The Clippers have won the tiebreak this season over the Warriors because they played each other 3 times so far. They have one more game remaining. It's the final game of the season. But the Clippers have won 3 straight this year over the Warriors. So no matter what happens in the final game, LA owns the tiebreaker. Now, the good news for LA is, and again, they took care of business in New York, 126-113, the final last night. Both the Clippers and the Warriors are 41-31. Well, the Warriors can't count on the Clippers losing their next game. It's at Brooklyn. Fortunately, that same night, the Warriors are in New Orleans. 2 very winnable games for 2 teams battling for playoff positioning. But then this is what's coming up for the LA Clippers. They got a game at Cleveland Sunday. The Warriors better take advantage of that because Cleveland will likely win that game. At Orlando, the Lakers did lose the other game. That could go either direction. They're at home against New Orleans. That ain't good. They got a back-to-back set at home against Dallas. I don't know how that's going to play out. Then the Clippers play San Antonio. Probably a win. They play Houston at home. That could be contentions, but that ain't that difficult. And then they play at Sacramento. No way to predict that. That's on Friday, April 11th. And then the final game of the season is at Golden State. Talk about relief that final game is at Chase Center, because these 2 teams could literally be tied playing for the 6th seed on the final day of the season. So the Clippers have, yeah, it's a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie, man. I just read to you basically like 3 teams that the Clippers may lose to, and the Clippers could easily the Clippers could easily run the board. It is sketchy is what I'm trying to say. Damn it. And then Choboy adding to the negativity, saying that Cleveland has not been playing well lately, and you're very correct about that. So even that might be a loss. Now, look, the Warriors are also chasing the Grizzlies, and maybe to get the 6th seed, you got to surpass them. Another scenario, in case you're wondering, like what happens if the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Timberwolves finish in a 3-way tie? The Warriors are screwed out of that because the tiebreaker, when it's multiple teams beyond 2, when it's 3 or more, you start going to other tiebreaker measurables like conference record, division record, and the Warriors get screwed on that front, if I'm not mistaken. So you don't want a 3-way tie either with the Clippers and the Timberwolves. Again, you own the tiebreak over Minnesota. That is the good news. You don't own it over the Clippers. That's the bad news. You play Memphis next week. And if you win that game, you win the tiebreak. So that's some good news. The Grizzlies have some tough games coming up. That's good news. The Warriors, in terms of conference record this year, because again, I believe that's the next tiebreak we go to for playoff seeding. The Warriors on the year in the conference are just 22-20. Now the Clippers are 22-23. In the conference. So the Warriors actually have a better conference record than them, but they don't have a better conference record than the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 29-19 in the West. God damn, that's good. So I don't know. So I guess that if there's no clear-cut winner with tiebreakers and conference record, I don't know if it goes to division record next year. I need to do my research on this now in terms of what happens if it's a 3-way tie between the Clippers and the Timberwolves. I thought I got to look this up now. I'll save that for the tomorrow night's show. We'll break this down much further. Side note, it might be a panel show tomorrow night. I know Larry Kruger and I are doing a show. Might bring Frank Red on the program. Might bring Dan Coach Emilio on the program. Stay tuned for that. But it could be, Bad Hombre. You're on the program. I'm sorry I didn't see you there. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Right, loud and clear. Go for it.
I just wanted to ask you about my starting five I put in the chat. This is like a hypothetical thing with the Warriors. Okay, so Quentin Post at the 5. Just hear me out. James Wiseman at the 4. Kuminga at the 3.
Hold on, you just said
Moody.
James Wiseman. That's not what you meant.
Yeah, I did. I'm gonna get to it. I know. I'm gonna get to it. Just let me get through the 5.
All right, okay, sorry.
So at the 3, you have Kuminga. At the 3, you have Kuminga. At the 2, we got Moody and Wiggins splitting time, and at the 1, you got Jordan Poole, Stephen Clay coming off the bench, but Kenny Atkinson is the coach. I just want to know if you think that version of the Warriors will be better than this version of the Warriors. Because I'm saying all that to say.
Well, hold on, Andre. Why is Stephen Clay coming off the bench in this hypothetical?
Because I think that with this whole 2 timeline crap, I think that Kenny. No, seriously, I think that Kenny, if this is in this hypothetical alternate multiverse version, I think that he would go with that because you got Benny Johnson, Steph playing that Benny Johnson role. He's still like Kuminga. He still would probably get 28, 30 minutes a game, but he's not starting. You see what I'm saying? And I'm wondering if
you're basically saying you're going into like a fantasy multiverse scenario where this is an alternate universe where in this situation, Kenny Atkinson takes over, James Wiseman's never traded, and this is your team. I mean, look, again, Steph coming off the bench, I'm not going to roll with that, clearly, especially with Jordan Poole over him. Even now in the current present state we're in, Steph is still light years, no pun intended, ahead of Jordan Poole. So I don't know why you're going with that lineup, but what is your point with all this? Is this like an argument for Kenny Atkinson as a good coach? Why are you exploring this weird hypothetical is what I'm curious about.
Because every year I get so tired of, we need to trade for this guy. We need to trade for this guy. And I'm thinking, when I see these guys, they come to the Warriors, I think they give up on them too quickly. So I think that we have everything we need right here. Draymond could go. Like I say, him and Poole, one of them, he would have to go.
He's about to
win
player of the year, and he's already out of your line.
He's not going to win GPII.
I think Portola 45 said it best. You're living in a video game world with this proposal. I have all the respect in the world for you, Hombre. Here's my thing. In case you're part of your argument is to support Kenny Atkinson, I always reserve judging a coach for the postseason. Like, meaning Kenny Atkinson has had some good years with Brooklyn, obviously having a great year with the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. But Budenholzer had some insane regular seasons. We've seen regular seasons that are absurd in terms of win totals achieved and other various accomplishments, regular season awards. And then you see those same teams in the postseason and they just collapse because the regular season and the postseason are two completely different seasons. And what really matters is the postseason, given this is a competitive professional sport with one goal in mind, and that's winning, which is why the Larry O'Brien Trophy is the ultimate prize here. So if the Cavaliers make a run in this postseason and they actually end up winning a title, or at least getting out of the East, which won't be that easy this year compared to last season or years past, I'll suddenly start holding Kenny Atkinson at a new level of reverence. I will have a whole nother level of utmost respect for him. But until then, I need to see them actually win when it matters most. And I'm not quite there yet. What are your thoughts?
And I'm not an anti-Kerr person either. Okay, but I think that Kenny got a raw deal in Brooklyn. I mean, we just have to be honest. When KD came over there, they wanted Steve Nash.
For people who are unfamiliar with the history of that, Kenny Atkinson's the coach of the Brooklyn Nets. He gets that team overachieving, just like Cleveland is now, right? And that team didn't, like Spencer Dinwiddie, I think, was the best player on the team. Like, what was that? Joe Harris was one of their best players. That remember him? Like,
and they had
best shooters in the game. And then the Nets get Kyrie Irving, they get Kevin Durant, to get James Harden. And those three, in their brilliant genius, collectively think, oh,
They
let's
wanted
get
Steve Nash.
as our head coach. And Kenny Atkinson is blown out of there for Steve Nash. And we've never seen Steve Nash coach again after that because it was such a disaster. So you're 100% correct. Kenny Atkinson got totally screwed in that scenario. And he's overachieving in with Cleveland. And that was insane what happened in Brooklyn.
And don't forget Jared Allen was on that team too. But he wasn't, balling. Yeah.
Great call. I forgot all about that. Great call.
So I've been a fan of Kerr since Arizona. Remember with Sean Elliott? They were balling together.
Oh, yeah.
Sean Elliott.
Tommy Tolbert was on that team. And again, Steve Kerr. And this is where I give him a lot of credit for being tough-minded. The dude can be stubborn, and I question his personnel decisions, but he is a tough son of a bitch. And case in point. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, okay? Because I'm evoking this off memory, and I can't remember if this was early in his Arizona career, or if this was still in his high school career, but I'm pretty sure it was in Arizona when fans were taunting him for his dad's death. In case you're unfamiliar,
that's another level.
In Lebanon, he was a professor teaching overseas there, and that's a huge reason why Steve Kerr is so anti-gun. And I don't know if he's anti-gun, more so just wanting common sense regulations with guns. That's a whole other issue. We're not going to touch that here. But my point is, that's why Steve Kerr is the way he is on the topic, on the issue of gun violence. And so Arizona, I think this was Arizona, and there was another team they were playing, and this was not long after that murder, and they were evoking that. They were taunting Steve Kerr with using his dad's death as the line that they kept feeding from the whole crowd. And Steve Kerr heard this, got utterly pissed off, and instead of letting it get to him, he had one of his best career games ever, and they won that game. And that lives in Steve Kerr's lore, and all the more respect to him for that. If you don't have any additional information on that, Hombre, can you add it? Am I mistaken in that story?
I remember hearing about it. I don't know if it was at Arizona or if it was in high school.
I can't remember.
But I'm saying I've always been a fan. When he came to the Bulls, I thought he did his thing with the Bulls. Granted, I heard the people on the radio saying that he won 5 championships. I'm like, wait a minute. Slow it down.
He did hit the game
winner.
Slow
it down a little bit.
He did hit the game winner that won a championship. I've never once questioned his tough-mindedness. I mean, that is a positive attribute to Kerr. But you're absolutely right also in that he was a role player on those title teams. Let's not pretend he was one of the pivotal stars carrying the squad. But look, he served his role masterfully. So good for him. Any final thoughts, Hombre?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Can you still hear me?
I can.
Hello?
I mean, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The only thing I'm going to say, I hate plus minus. I know it can be used as a snapshot sometimes. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
I said I hate plus minus.
Yeah, well, look, net rate, and again, that's
why
I said I don't
like
with that net rating stat I just presented. Jimmy Butler and Kuminga are a minus 16 as a duo. That is an insanely subjective stat. Like, do not take that statistic and pretend that means anything. Because we don't know who the other 3 players were on the court with them. It was only in 65 minutes, or they played a total 65 minutes together. That's nothing, man. That is not a lot of NBA playing time. We shall see. We shall see what happens with this. But I am encouraged to hear that Kuminga is going to be a benefactor of the minutes, and I'm also a little disappointed that Kerr just admitted it that GP2 was stealing minutes from Jonathan Kuminga. That's wild to me, man. So again, this could be a blessing in disguise. We shall see. Yeah,
we don't want anybody to get hurt. I just think that Kuminga needs to be given a what's the word that I'm looking for? Not a longer leash, but he just needs to be. Look, if you go out there, you make a mistake, and then you watch it on film. Isn't that what coaches are supposed to do? Remember, Moody would make a mistake and he would get DMPs.
By the way, Robert Phoenix in the chat, the 11th house. Again, and I don't know if you folks are just getting a rise out of this, but I figure I'll tell a funny story here because Robert Phoenix in the chat says, I want a Cy and Jim Park video. Jim Park, a Twitter personality. I don't know why he suddenly has some people interested in his content. If you actually focus on it, nothing about it impresses me. But the reason why I bring this up is because Jim Park DMs me on Twitter yesterday going, do you have an issue with me? And I'm like, no, I don't care. I don't have any thought about you except when people on my chat bring your name up. And I told him what I'm telling you, that what is the point of bringing someone on the program who basically stole what I've been saying? And maybe that's the wrong way to phrase it, but I've been criticizing Steve Kerr for years. Jim Park starts criticizing him in the last 3 months, and people are acting like this is a new thing. So it's going to be a redundancy. I mean, it's what you want, 2 people bashing Steve Kerr. I don't take pleasure criticizing Steve Kerr either, but never mind that. I'll tell you what I told Jim. And I told Jim this, I'm like, if you want to do something, invite me. I don't know why the impetus is on me bringing him on this show. Why can't I go on his show? So if you folks want that to happen, start bugging him and tell him to invite me. It ain't happening here because nothing about what that guy publishes in terms of his content impresses me at all. So I don't care. I just don't. I don't know him. There's no reason for me to bring him on other than a few people bringing it up. And if you people want to see that so bad, ask him to invite me. That's not happening where I'm inviting him. There's no good reason for that. So this show doesn't need it, in my humble opinion, and I'll leave it there. But he DM me. He's like, dude, do you have a problem? I'm like, no, it's just people in my chat keep bringing you up. And I keep saying the same thing that I'm telling you now. It's like, it's a redundancy. You've been ripping Kerr for however few months. I've been doing it for years, man. And for some reason now, like, his arguments are getting attention. Okay, thanks, assholes, for fucking ignoring me for 2 years about it, 2.5 years about it. But whatever. If you want him and me to do something together, bug him. Ask him to invite me on the show. All right, if you want it so bad. Otherwise, that's the extent of that. A few people in the chat, by the way, bringing up Third Eye Spy. Last I checked, that guy does have a YouTube channel, so he can easily invite me. Why would he not? I mean, he's using a streaming platform. Just hit the share button. You could bring other people on. That's asinine. Anyways, Kevin Knox's name is in our chat a few times. I want to bring that up real fast, because he might be a benefactor as well. Are you still with me, Bad Hombre?
Yeah, I was just listening to you.
Oh, sorry. So anyways, Hombre, before I get to Chardol, and then we're going to call it a wrap. I didn't expect this to be a long show today, but here we are. Any final thoughts, Hombre, before I go to Chardol?
No, it's like I don't have a problem with Kerr. I just think he should be consistent with his rotations. That's it. Like the
All
kid
right.
Trace, he's got DMPs. And 1 minute he started. So that's it. Thanks for letting me come up.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a wild take, all right? And I hope you agree with that sentiment. I don't mean disrespect. I'm not criticizing. It was unusual, but that's what makes life interesting, right? So I appreciate the incredibly unique perspective you just brought to the table. A world where Draymond Green is gone, a world where James Wiseman's still the team, a world where Jordan Poole is starting over Stephen Curry, and a different head coach is in charge. It's interesting. It was an interesting take. Thank you for exercising the brain, Hombre. I really do appreciate that. Chardol, a unique appearance, joining us on a Thursday afternoon. How are you doing, brother?
Sai, how are you doing?
Doing all right, man. I'm about to go get some lunch, very late lunch. How are you?
I love all your content. I love your YouTube channel. I love everything you do on the platform.
Thank you.
So what's on your mind tonight? What are you doing tonight?
I'm just literally I was just doing a quick show because the Gary Payton II news dropped, and then I heard Steve Kerr's attribution about it, and that is what led to the show. If Steve Kerr didn't say what he said, I don't think I'd be, turning on the camera and the mic. But when Steve Kerr is like publicly saying that GP2's minutes were the reason why JK was getting the minutes he was getting, and how those two have a direct correlation there, that fascinated me. And it also made me think about the fact that GP2, as good as he's been playing lately, if he has an injury on his shooting hand, that's debilitating in terms of his role on this Warriors team.
For me,
I see that Kuminga could benefit from that. Go ahead, sorry.
For me, I really love GP2. Like, he got injured again, so he's a glue to this team. And when I heard about the news, I was devastated. I was like, what is these injuries? Like, all these injuries are happening. What is about these injuries? Like, why are so many players getting injured? Like, what is this? What is about this?
Injured? Oh, you mean Steph?
Steph, and now we got 2 players injured. Now our team is screwed because we got Steph injured.
But are you surprised GP2 got hurt? I mean, isn't this kind of like his MO? He gets hurt like every year. I mean, I think that's the biggest reason why his career hasn't gone as far as it has. His durability has been an issue, and it's not a surprise considering he's 6'2", and Steve Kerr has him playing power forward. Although the hand injury is probably just an incidental thing, but with the other injuries, it wouldn't surprise me if that's why. But durability has never been his strength, man, and it's unfortunate.
So I wanted to say, I'm not surprised about the fact that he gets injured a lot. I'm not surprised. It's just like Steph Curry gets he sprains his ankle so many times. I'm not surprised. I'm not like this is like I've never seen this before type of deal. This is like not like it's not shot like he gets injured all the time. So like why would that be shocking to me?
Here's the good news about Stephen Curry. The dude's a survivor. The dude adapts, which is what the strongest do. Those ankle injuries, he still gets them, but you don't see him missing many games because of it, right? You got to love him for that.
But I wanted to say the game yesterday, that the Heat lost. I was saying that was a travesty. The Warriors and Heat game yesterday, they lost by 26 yesterday. That was a damn travesty, man. Like they should have not lost that game. Like I was like, what? Like you this Jimmy Butler's return to Miami. He's coming back to his hometown of Miami, and you lose, and he only scored 11 points. Like
Shardal, I was waiting for this Tuesday night. Tuesday night, you were still bubbling with optimism, and I didn't understand it. You're like a day or two behind, Shardal. You got to catch up with me, brother. Come on. So I'm glad you're saying this now.
But I'm saying that I can't believe we lost that game.
I know.
Like that was a fucking travesty. A fucking travesty, man. To fucking Miami.
Okay. Reason up. No more F-bombs, but yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you on that.
Sorry.
It's okay. I get it. It frustrated everybody, Shardal. I get it. You're pissed, man. They should not have lost that game.
I'm pissed off they lost that game. They shouldn't have lost that game.
Trey Cho in the chat is asking, do you like Kevin Knox, Shardal?
I don't even know who Kevin Knox is. He's this new player that came, and I know him, but I don't know how well he's gonna do. How he's gonna let me say this. Just let the kid, we just signed him. Just let the kid play out what he just play a couple of games, and then assess the guy how well he plays after that. Because we just signed him to the Warriors full roster.
Real fast here.
I'm sorry for swearing.
No, Shardal. But I think this needs to be addressed.
No, I'm sorry for swearing.
Spy is accusing you, Shardal, of being in character when you come on these programs. I'm going to push back, and you're going to be the final answer here. Obviously, I'm going to push back and say you are authentic. The Shardal we get on this show is the Shardal that exists in real life.
Hey, you know, I do streams. I do Warrior streams in my house, and I sweared. And my dad literally didn't say a single word. I said 5 F words. My dad said nothing. Go ahead. I swear, I swear on the stream, and my dad literally didn't say a single word. He just let me go on and do your thing. Say whatever you want to say, F word. Say whatever you want to say, shit. Whatever you want to say.
The main reason why I don't like too much.
My dad. When I did the stream. My dad is nice. He let me say because he knows you're pissed off. So he said, "I don't care if you say shit like F words or something. I don't care."
My main reason for not wanting too many F bombs.
My dad lets me. Why don't you not let me? What? You don't let me. You don't let me. But why does my dad let me swear in the house?
Because some of my audience, I like the pod because a lot of the audience is on the podcast side, and those folks are listening in the car, and sometimes they have kids in the car with them. And what I don't want is the kid to is for people to be like, damn it, and they got to turn it off because their kids are in the car and someone's dropping F-bomb.
I don't know why you tell me I can't, but why in my house my parents let me? They let me swear.
Because your house doesn't have children probably listening.
They let me swear.
YouTube also has an issue with F-bombs. Like if someone says it too much, they're going to flag me for and they won't let me monetize.
So you mean YouTube is gonna if I sweared a lot in my YouTube video, do you think they're gonna flag that stream and remove it permanently?
Not remove it, but do you make money from it?
No, I don't make money off of it.
So that's where they penalize you. If you swear too much, they tell you can keep your show up, but you're not making money off this.
So you're saying that you can get demonetized. That's what it is.
That's yes. And so
you can get
monetization and there's a third reason too, Shardal. It cheapens the language. Like there's a clip And I strongly recommend it. This came out like 40, 50 years ago, and it's still as funny today as it was then. It was produced by the Monty Python crew, and it's a YouTube video. It's on YouTube, all about the F word and how one word can mean like 30 different things. It's an awesome word. It's probably my favorite word in the English lexicon. With that said, if one word can be used for 30 different circumstances as a noun, as a verb, as an adjective, it cheapens your language. It means you're using one word instead of trying to expand your vocabulary, and it dumbs you down, Chardal. That's why I like to limit the expletives as well. Does that make sense or no? Your thoughts?
It makes sense, but sometimes when a team doesn't perform well, you have to show your emotions need to come out. You need to show that you're fed up.
I'm not happy censoring you.
Like when you don't,
I don't
swear.
like it, I know.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I don't want to swear that much, but like swearing is the only way to show your emotion, your anger.
I know, but
It's only way.
I know.
Isn't there any way to show anger than swear?
You could absolutely. Hey, Chardal, you've seen me pissed off on this show without using swear words. It takes a special skill to do it without adding.
And there was a really funny thing that happened with Steph Curry's mother. He sweared. His mother washed his mouth with soap.
Well, and she has a swear jar too. I think Steph has to put like a certain amount of money each time he swears. So, yeah. So Sonia Curry, is it Sonia, right? Is that her name? Like
no, Sonia, Stephen Curry's mother.
Let me ask you this, Chardal. Did her and Dell not do an unbelievably amazing job raising those kids?
They did.
Incredible, right?
They did a great job. Like those kids that grew up, they're great kids. Seth Curry, Seidel Curry. I don't know why.
Has a funny podcast with Cameron Brink.
When I look at Seidel Curry, I'm not sure why I look at her. She's gorgeous. You know Seidel Curry? No, Seidel Curry, the Stephen Curry, her.
Yeah, Damian Lee's wife. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very gorgeous.
I'm with you. No disagreement here. You're right.
Yeah, I wish I would have that type of, like, remember he said getting massaged by people on an island. I want to have that where I get. Remember there was a comment where he said you want to get massaged by beautiful women in a Mediterranean resort.
Yes,
I want that.
Who doesn't? I get. Well, I'm sure there's some.
You know what would be even cooler to have? Maybe work out and get a chiseled body, like nice chiseled body, and then massage, put oil all over your body and massage.
All right, Chardal, this is how you need to get some food. Great job. Great job as always.
Hey, Sai, awesome. Thanks for having me on the show.
Tomorrow night, right?
I'll come on tomorrow night. Sai, make sure to click the viewers, make sure to click the like button, smash the subscribe button, ring that notification bell.
Thank you.
Because Sai comes out with some great content, and make sure to click that subscribe button.
Thank you, brother. You're fantastic.
No, Hawk Tua on that thing.
There you go. Spit on that thing, right? Even
Hawk Tua and spit on that thing. Hawk Tua and spit on that thing.
And like that, I appreciate all of you. I thank all of you. Chardal, you're amazing. All of you are amazing. We're back at this tomorrow night. Let's hope the Warriors get back on the winning track. 10 games to go. Bye-bye. Love you, Chardal.